For most people, a pension is a promise, a quiet belief that after decades of hard work, sacrifice, and discipline, there will one day be a moment of rest. A moment when life slows down, when stress fades, when the world finally rewards you for everything you've endured. It's the one financial system that millions trust without question. The system that tells you, work now, save now, and in the end, there will be something waiting for you. But what if that promise is a lie? What if governments, without ever announcing it, without ever signing a law you can understand, without ever appearing on the news, are slowly draining the money you spent your whole life building? What if the greatest theft of the modern age is not violent, not loud, not visible, but silent? A whisper, hidden in numbers, policies, inflation rates, and interest decisions most people never pay attention to. This is the story of how governments quietly steal your pension without you ever realizing it. It begins with a simple truth. Governments are always broke. Not sometimes, not occasionally, always. No matter how rich a country seems, its expenses always exceed its earnings. Welfare, healthcare, military spending, infrastructure, salaries, debt payments, the list never ends. And when governments can't pay their bills, they do not cut spending, they do not reduce luxuries, they do not shrink their power. They look for money. And the easiest place to find it is the one place nobody is watching: your future, your pension. The first method, inflation, the silent thief. Inflation is a word most people hear but never understand. It sounds harmless, technical, statistical. But inflation is not an economic concept. It is a weapon. Imagine saving money for 40 years. You put it in a pension fund. You trust that one day it will support you. But year after year, something happens quietly in the background. Prices increase. The value of your currency falls. The cost of living rises. And your pension? It stays the same. Every year, your money buys less food, less medicine, less comfort, less life. You didn't lose your savings. Your government diluted them. How? By printing money. Not always literally, but financially. Every new dollar, rupee, pound, or euro that enters circulation makes the ones you already saved worth less. It is the perfect crime. No fingerprints, no alarms, no politician to blame, no one to punish, just a slow, invisible erosion, eating your future from the inside. The second method, pension funds are used as government piggy banks. In many countries, pension funds are not independent, protected, or isolated. They are controlled by governments, directly or indirectly. They use your money to buy government bonds. Why? Because the government needs cheap loans, and pension funds are the cheapest source of loans on earth. Stable, predictable, silent. When governments overspend, they don't ask for permission. They reach straight into pension reserves and take what they need in the form of mandatory investment requirements. It sounds harmless. It sounds technical. But what it really means is this: your retirement savings are being used to fund government failures. If the government collapses financially, your pension collapses with it. But they never tell you that part. The third method, raising the retirement age. Here's the darkest trick of them all. Governments know the pension system is failing. They know there is not enough money. They know the promises made 30 years ago cannot be fulfilled today. So instead of admitting the truth, they change the rules. They raise the retirement age from 60 to 62, then from 62 to 65, then 67, then 70. They do it slowly, carefully, politely. We're adjusting the retirement age to reflect longer life expectancy, they say. But that is not the real reason. The real reason is brutal. If you work longer, you die sooner. And if you die sooner, the government doesn't have to pay you your pension. It is the cruelest efficiency in modern finance. Make people work until they are too old to claim the money they spent a lifetime creating. The fourth method, underfunding. The disaster no one talks about. Pension systems are built on assumptions. Assumptions about how many people will work, how much they will earn, how long they will live, and how much money is needed for future payouts. But these assumptions were made decades ago in a different world. A world where families had more children, where people died younger, where life was cheaper. Today, everything has changed, except the pension formulas. So quietly, almost invisibly, the gap grows. The amount of money needed is far greater than the amount of money available. This is called underfunding, and it is the single biggest financial crisis almost no government dares to mention. Because to fix it, they would need to admit that the system is already collapsing. So instead they pretend. They hide the numbers. They shift the funds. They delay the reports. And they hope you never notice until it's too late. The fifth method, taxation, the direct extraction. Here is another tactic so normal that nobody questions it. You earn money. You pay taxes. Your employer pays more taxes. Your pension contributions get taxed later. It feels normal, expected, even fair. But look closely. Your pension is taxed twice. Once when you earn the money, and again when you take it out. It is the same money, taxed twice, by the same government. A system designed like that is not an accident. It is extraction. Quiet, elegant, legal. The government takes from you before your retirement and after your retirement, and you call it normal because you've been told it is. The sixth method, interest rates, the slow poison. Interest rates decide the growth of pension funds. When interest rates are high, pensions grow. When interest rates are low, pensions shrink. Governments know this. Central banks know this. Economists know this. So when a government wants to stimulate the economy, it forces central banks to drop interest rates. The stock market goes up. People cheer. Politicians celebrate. But your pension? It dies silently. Low interest rates mean your savings grow slower, or sometimes not at all. For governments, it's a winning move. For you, it's another quiet theft. The seventh method, changing the rules in the middle of the game. Imagine playing a game for 40 years. You follow every rule. You sacrifice. You trust. But at the end of the game, the rules change. Governments do this all the time. They change contribution requirements. They reduce payouts. They alter eligibility criteria. They modify inflation adjustments. They use complex language, rebalancing the system, adjusting actuarial assumptions, ensuring long-term sustainability. But these phrases all mean one thing. You get less. The government keeps more. The game you spent your whole life playing was never fair. You just didn't know it. Why governments can get away with it? Because pensions operate on trust, on time, on patience, and time is the perfect cover for corruption. A scandal that unfolds slowly is never seen as a scandal. It's seen as progress, reform, economic necessity. Politicians know this. They know the average person doesn't read financial reports, doesn't study policy changes, doesn't monitor pension fund performances. So they make changes quietly, quiet enough that you don't notice, until the damage is already done. The most dangerous truth of all. Your pension does not exist, not fully, not in the way you think. It is not waiting for you in a vault. It is not sitting in an account. It is not secured by the government. Your pension is a promise made by governments who borrow money they don't have to pay pensions they cannot afford in a future they will not control. And that is the darkest truth of all. Governments steal your pension, not because they want to, but because they have no choice. The system was built to collapse, slowly, quietly, predictably. And as long as people remain unaware, as long as people continue believing in the illusion, the collapse will appear normal, expected, unavoidable. The perfect crime. A final warning. If you think your pension is safe, ask yourself one question. Why do governments never talk about it? They talk about education. They talk about healthcare. They talk about development, progress, growth. But pensions? Silence. Because the truth is simple. The money is not there. It hasn't been there for years. And the only way to hide that truth is by taking a little more from you every year, quietly, politely, cleverly, until the day comes when you finally realize that the future you believed in was stolen by the people you trusted the most.